Welcome back everybody, it's DestinysJesus here. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys why I think Acorn and Cold are the favourites and are going to win the first NA Central FNCS. They just went ahead and won the NA East FNCS, but now with NA Central merging, all the NA West players coming in, there's obviously a lot of other good teams like Epic Wellreach and Bolts and Thoric that are coming in that could challenge for the title, but I still think Acorn and Cold are going to have it. I'm going to be breaking down just one of their games in this video, so let me know if you guys enjoy this style, looking at their full early, mid game and end game as well. Acorn and Cold go ahead and land at the split right here between Mega City and Frenzy Fields. One very important thing they do off spawn is they make sure they're landing as if they're contested to begin with. They both have really good drops, and then realizing they're uncontested and this team's going to another spot, they go ahead and land on the outskirts first. It's very important that you do this, especially on a split drop. Scout to make sure you're uncontested to begin with. Don't just land split to begin with, and then go ahead and loop outwards towards inwards. This means that they're going to head and save a lot of time. They can farm separate things to begin with. And then, as obviously players are going to be regrouped and potentially looking for a fight, these guys can go ahead and be farming next to each other and trading surge and have extra heals that they can use together. One of the main benefits of landing at a split drop is your rotate timings out are going to be very quick compared to a POI. And also the fact that you can go ahead and get key boxes every single game. POIs don't have key boxes, so these guys simply can go ahead and get Keymaster, or can get keys through floor spawns, and then potentially get an extra katana through that, like a purple katana, or in this game, Cold goes ahead and gets a gold pump, which he's going to use to great effect later on. One thing that Cold and Acorn do every single early game is just taking Dumpster Diver. A lot of people overlook this perk since it doesn't look that useful. However, if you have a Dumpster at your drop spot, it's very good because you get extra heals you can trade with, as well as a whole load of extra ammo every single time you jump into a dumpster. Another thing that these guys do is they save these barrels in their spawn, but after they've traded surge from some other teams, just so they can make sure to not waste any of their splashes until as late as possible. Now when it comes to going for surge, instead of building a massive 1x1 on top of this hill like 99% of pro players would, Cold instead hides behind it. He knows Acorn is covering his back, and this means that he doesn't have to give away his positioning. And he's very careful here not to just go for 1 or 2 free tags on a team or speculative shots. Instead, he waits for a guaranteed headshot and then is able to get 100 surge just based on that hidden play. After playing Surge and rotating really well throughout the rest of this game, Acorn and Cold run into a problem on 5th zone. The NA West FNCS winners of last season are way below Surge and need to W key them to survive. How does Acorn and Cold win this fight so quickly? Well, first of all, it starts off with Cold going ahead and scouting out and getting information before the fight even starts. He's just sitting in his cone here and calling Cold exactly what he sees, and allows Cold to counter the ODM just by getting some AR shots as he comes over, as you can see. Immediately, Cold starts box fighting, he goes for the piece, and very smartly here, he's the one taking the contact and allowing Acorn to have some time to make this really smart play happen. What does Acorn do? He goes around the right-hand side of his original box. So many players make the mistake of just fighting horizontally across right here, and that, of course, can lead to success, but means that you don't have a natural round peak, you're only hiding behind one build. What does Acorn do? Goes around the right, sets up this top right-hand peak, perfectly waits for this other player to open up. Other guy opens up, can barely even see Acorn, and gets max damage straight away. And then now they're left in this 2v1 versus Bolt, who won the last FNCS. What does Cold do straight away? Is this guy's trying to open and edit. Very smartly, instead of placing the cone here and going for the piece on the guy where the guy can hide behind the cone and probably get out of the box, instead he places a stair. Not many players would do that, and the stair is so effective because it bumps up the guy's crosshair placement, as well as it makes him a very easy target for these guys as they start fighting him. Cold breaks the wall with his shotgun, places a cone, and then just sprays through together, and they create an easy 2v1 where neither of them can die. After just having a max distance rotate that burnt through all of their heals, Acorn and Cold get another max distance partial zone, and these zones are very difficult to rotate, but here's some tips to rotate it easier. First of all, don't just open a massive wide edit like this. That means you're going to get tagged by other people as you come out your box. Instead, go at the top or go at the back of your box so you can't get seen by other players. Next up, make sure you burn through your katana charges and then go ahead and slide a little bit to get some more distance and then box up and pause. So many teams are going to ODM gear the whole way into zone, and you can simply just box up and pause and then wait for your katana charges to go ahead and regenerate. Acorn and Cold do this constantly as they rotate in. They get to a good spot where they're almost in zone, and instead of trying to force their way in, instead they just box up and try not to waste any more heals as they continue rotating in. It means that they can potentially get a kill looking back for people, and it also means that they can spend some time to just evaluate how they want to rotate into the next zone. So many players here, they would go ahead and rush their rotating and put themselves in a bad spot, but Acorn and Cold realize this, they scout out what's in front of them, and it means that they're able to get a katana charge nicely and actually get to a nice high layer hit up the hill, and this allows them to pull the next zone as well. you've always got to remember, every single rotate you do, you have to be thinking about the next potential zone after it. Don't just put yourself in a temporary good spot that's going to be bad to rotate out of later on. In the most recent patch, Epic went ahead and changed this 8 zone, so now it plays completely out of the current zone. That means that every single player has to rotate. And when every single player has to rotate, it's more important about how you time your rotate rather than how you actually do your rotate itself. So as you can see here, Acorn scouts out, gets information on the threats to them as they're beginning their rotate. He scouts out this team plus the team over there on height, as you can see. And when now, as those teams are forced to rotate in by zone closing, that's when Acorn decides to go. He wants to go somewhere in the middle of all these other teams rotating, so he's not going to be the one getting focused for going early or for going too late. He's going at the same time as his other team next to it. This means that he's able to choose a nice spot to land at. He goes ahead and builds one box out of metal, then makes a 2-1, and this means that they're able to conserve a lot of mats as they actually get into zone here. And also very nicely, they don't take any more damage. These guys are pretty shambles at this point. They're going to need a big refresh later on. Now, as we come to first moving hit, Acorn and Cold are absolutely shambles. They only have around 300 mats each, and they're both 1 pumpable, and they're not even 100 HP. They don't have any heals to their name, so what do they do to find a refresh and get themselves back into this game? First of all is they don't play too passive. So many players in this situation here would play a way too passive playstyle and basically just wait for themselves to die and try to get as much placement as possible. However, Acorn and Cold don't do that. They whack on edits, they go for pre-edits on other teams, and they're being very aggressive. You've got to remember, they're both standing here with a pump out. It's quite unlikely that a solo or a duo is going to go ahead and actively try to fight them and counter pump them as they take these edits. Unfortunately, note they're not able to find it the few times that they tried it on first moving. So what do? They go ahead and continue rotating, and they put themselves in the best possible position for getting a refresh, which is going to be low ground on front side where other players are forced to come into you and you can look back and hold them. How do they do this? Is they go directly underneath height. This spotted height is directly above them in the middle of zone, so they rotate out and they go quite high up, as you can see here. However, they're completely safe because height can't have line of sight on them as they rotate forward. They do 3 katanas, get themselves into this really good low ground position, and as you can see here, they both go ahead and cut off this one other team down on low ground that's fighting on backside, take them out, and then now they're sorted back into the game, but they're still fairly shambles. Acorn gets the minis and gets the mats and then gets straight out of the box, and then now they're back into the game. They're both going to be able to fight some teams and actually get a proper refresh. Acorn and Cold have found a few refreshes that are fairly shambles on backside, but they need something significant. They need to wipe a duo that is fairly stacked. So how do they do that? They go ahead and katana above another team and then take a look at what Cold does as he lands. Instead of prioritizing his own safety and boxing up straight away, instead he focuses on getting this floor on this other team and basically just getting this little bit of extra piece on another team to catch them off guard. Now straight away after boxing up, he does a wide edit that Acorn can shoot with him from, goes then replaces the cone, and then now they both have a right hand peek naturally down onto this team into their tarp. Lands a nice ADS max, and they get the body and get straight out of the box. Take a look at how they don't fight the other player or try to hunt down the other player. Instead, they just get all of the mats and all their heals from it, and then prioritize getting through the box. And very nicely here, instead of going back up into their old base, which wasn't on the best layer and isn't wood, they hide in these fully built brick builds that this other player could edit on them, but they know that he won't because he's just been having to run back in Storm and he's going to be busy. So they keep on tarping in through this low layer here, put themselves onto front side in the end of zone, and then now are in actually a fairly good position to pop off and do well this game. As you get into final moving here, now the zone plays for 20 extra seconds, so it's very hard to actually have enough mats, and most games now don't even go to heal off. So how do Acorn and Cold combat that? Especially again, they're absolutely shambles once again in this finals. Immediately, they try to fight a solo that they notice is going through their old builds. It's very important that you guys try to get these refreshes and solos and use the advantage, the fact that there's 2 of you fighting compared to just 1. They cut him off, as you can see here, going through his old builds, take him out, and then now they're insanely stacked. And one very nice thing, while Acorn is looting up, they both don't just greed trying to get the loot. Instead, Cold is prioritizing, going frontside, making sure that these are all secure builds, even though he's absolutely shambles, and Acorn has all of the extra mats. Now at this point, they need to prioritize obviously staying frontside, but also not letting Reet and Epic Whale cut them off or actually fight them in a correct manner. Cold, very nicely here, he lurks back for a second and then waits for this timing shot onto Reet from the side, as you can see. He gets that nice timing shot, Reet goes down from above, and then now these guys go for the body, and they do this in a very smart fashion. They don't instantly open up, they wait for these builds to be secured, then they go back in Storm, get insanely stacked off of Reet's loot, and while Acorn is doing this again, never ever have 2 people going for loot at the same time. Cold is prioritizing staying frontside, making sure all these builds are secure, making sure that nobody can cut them off, and this is eventually going to lead to a win just on the fact that these guys stay frontside this entire game. As you can see here, they boxed up in the final box. They keep on making their way so they don't take any storm to the last possible second. And then now, basically nobody has anything left, and Acorn and Cold are going to win this without even going to heal off. They did have the extra heals from those refreshes necessary. However, they won their game just by staying frontside and getting those key refreshes down on low ground.